Did you read both of these? Word for word? Boy, it got quiet. We got a few seconds. All right, there it is, 6 o'clock. So we'll call this meeting to order for the April 1st, 2024 Scotland County Board of Commissioners meeting. And we'll start with an invocation with.
In our gathering tonight, we thank you for the many blessings that you give us each and every day, Lord. We thank you for sometimes even the trials and tribulations you present before us, Lord, so we might learn from your grace and increase our faith. And Father God, we ask that you be with us as we consider all the concerns of the people of this county, Lord. We thank you for those who are present tonight, Lord, because their presence makes us better. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Amen. We'll stand for the sake of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. And we had an additional item added in, and we wanted to recognize that today is Sandy Cowan's birthday. Happy birthday, everybody! Happy. All right, good enough. So next we'll talk about the approval of the agenda. Everybody's had time to review that and
offer motion for approval of the agenda.
Have a motion. All right, this carries. We'll move on to our public forum. We have a 3-minute time limit on the public forum. I do need to make a little special disclosure tonight on our public forum that if you're here to talk about the item, which is the public hearing that we're having on the other solar farms later, we can't hear that right now because we'll be going into a sworn testimony at that time. So but you're free to talk about whatever else you would like to in your 3 minutes. Nash Hardy. No, Melissa Creed. I didn't see her. Or Dr. Will Cooley. Seeing none here.
Well, he's here.
Oh, there he is. He's hiding behind Jerry.
In other words, don't talk about solar panels. Is that what you're saying?
Don't talk about these specific projects.
Okay. I didn't understand his question until I reread that first meeting. But anyway, he asked me, said, well, would I rather sell my land than lease it for a lot more? And of course, I'd missed what his intent was. If I were a seller, I would certainly rather lease it for 10 times what I could sell it for. My question is, why are they buying it? Or why are they leasing it for 10 times what they could purchase the land? Answer that question. That's a concern. Anyway, at the meeting 2 months ago, I gave each of you a few pages of information and asked 8 questions that I would like for either you or the solar panel companies to answer. And so far, I've not received an answer to any of them. I see where the solar companies have already begun work on one of these tracks even before you have voted. And I'm told your attorney has told you have to vote in favor of the solar panels. The Native Americans traded their land for shiny objects also. History here. I understand y'all have a difficult task providing services for an economically distressed county with a declining tax base. But do you think putting solar panels on land which could easily be developed, I sort of overheard, was selling water to Hope County? Is selling water to Hope County so that Hope County continue to grow rather than inviting the growth to come to Scotland County? Is that a good idea? I mean, I know y'all got to balance this year's budget. You got to balance budgets until you get reelected, et cetera. But you got to look further down the road. And to me, like I drew y'all that map, that's just not a good use of the land. It benefits the landowner and the solar panel companies. It doesn't benefit Scotland County. I understand that, yeah, they're taxed, but taxed at 20% because of state statutes, and that's none of y'all's do. I feel an obligation to my ancestors who cleared this land with shovels and mules, and to my descendants who I fear will inherit the environmental damage these solar farmers will leave us with. Just like Pink Energy and Kevin Chappell that talked to y'all last month. There's nothing going on there. This fight will not end here. You have members on this board with conflicts of interest and members on this board who have violated your own rules, whose votes will be challenged. You have been told you have to vote for these rules by your attorney, who may feel like he's doing his job, but my opinion is giving you bad advice.
So Mark, let me just make one very, and it's from a source that we don't currently use using anything. It's not even producing any water right now. So it's just an opportunity that we could take that asset and turn it into to making money, because either way, if we, and I'm with you, invite that.
Well,
Development
again, is development. I know subdivisions require services. You got to build schools. You got to have water, maybe even sewer. They're going to fill up Polk County. They're going to fill up Moore County. It's already coming to Richmond County. I get a client at least. I think that's our future, between military housing and people spread from Fayetteville and Moore County, both Richmond and Scotland.
Well, the good thing is if we do that with that facility for what they're requesting and the amount wise, the facility has more potential than just what the amount that they would want. So, right. Yeah, I get it. Well, it's because I asked him a question, Clint. Thank you, sir. None, we'll move on to our consent agenda. If you all had a chance to look at that, take a motion on that.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Have a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Inequality in ownership and generational wealth.
Good evening. My name is Genesis Davis, and I am a senior at St. Andrews University, graduating this year, 2024. Who does the slides? Oh, we can go to the next.
Well, we might have to do it this way.
So I just wanted to preface by saying a little bit more about me. Again, like I've said before, I'm a St. Andrews senior, and I'm actually an age 450 taught by Dr. Tim Hay. It was required that we decided to do a global project, and we relate it to health. My issue, I chose race and home ownership. And through that project, that's when I saw that and the state of North Carolina as a whole. And one of the requirements for that project was to find a solution for it and hopefully implement it in Scotland County. We can go to the next slide. So this is taken from the 2020 compared to the state of North Carolina. However, in contrast, when compared to the state of North Carolina, which is 12.8%, and even though it's not up there, the United States is at 12.6%. Owner-occupied housing rate is 59.8%, meaning that if the owner is on property, they live in that property, so they're not renters. Compared to the owner-occupied housing rate of 66.7%, comes to higher education, bachelor's degree or higher in individuals that are over the age of 25 in Scotland County is 14.5% as of 2022, compared to the entirety of North Carolina, which is 35.9%, again in 2022. I wanted to say that this is very many different benefits of home ownership. There's to put more time and effort into somewhere they actually live. More people are more likely to watch out for their neighbors if they know they're not just going to up and leave the next month. And then families better in schools, and they perform better socially. That I was mentioning. Financial literacy means that you can budget properly, where all the work prices and how a credit card works. If you understand how bank notices work, you are less likely to be vulnerable to scams, pyramid schemes, get rich quick schemes, and essentially just make your mental health, your mental and physical, emotional well-being a lot healthier. So how can we increase financial literacy and in turn home ownership in North County? Well, I found a nonprofit. It was backed by Bank of America. It is a national nonprofit started in the United States, NACA, the Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America. This corporation makes economic justice and economic stability a priority for all of its members. So again, it is free for all members. You don't pay anything if you go through this program. They have a no down payment, no PMI or private mortgage insurance. And they do character-based lending, which I think is one of the most important things. They don't look at credit score. They understand that there are things that go on in your life that you cannot necessarily control. So they'll look at your credit history and they'll see that, oh my gosh, you paid $5,000. Why did you pay $5,000? Because I lost my job, because my mom got sick and I had to pay hospital bills. You write a letter of explanation and then they will understand that and they will forward that to the bank. You can also finance rehabs and repairs through the Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America. So if you find a old decrepit house and you want to buy that house and the land that it's on, you can spend that money that goes underneath your mortgage. You can use that to rehab and repair that house. And then you have the Section 8 housing vouchers, which can actually go towards your mortgage. Are there any questions for the Neighborhood Assistance Corporation of America? It is, again, a nonprofit, and I did have her look over the slides to make sure that all of this information is up to date and accurate.
I'll ask, as commissioners, what can we do to help this nonprofit move forward in our community so that we can close that gap of the inequality of homeownership?
And at St. Andrews University have already been in contact with NACA. We have had, again, the meeting that you attended earlier, well, I should say last month, and we're essentially ready. We are willing to host they call it a homeowners workshop or a home buyers workshop. We will host that at St. Andrews University, and we are currently working with them right now. And we just wanted to let you guys know, help spread the word that this nonprofit is coming to Scotland County, and hopefully just get you guys excited about this prospect.
Well, being in that business for 30 years, and NACA's been around a while. And some other ones out there that kind of do the same thing. And this is just personal advice to anybody. Be really careful when you're looking at a home as well. Just because about five and all of a sudden you need to sell it to move. What you pay the realtor and the closing cost, you're going to lose. So I'm not saying never do it, that's for sure, but just be really careful and know going in, that's what you're getting into. But there are some, but there's some options out there. So thank you though.
And let me ask you, so if somebody who is living in a rental house and they find something they want to fix up, they're gonna, who do they apply to for that loan?
So you are going to go through the NACA program. So they have numerous steps that you take to ensure that you as a renter are ready to go and want to fix up. If it's just an already pre-built house, you all start at the same place.
So they're gonna make a decision as to whether or not I have the ability, because of my job or something else, whether I can manage a mortgage.
Yes, they don't want you to get into a situation where you are buying a house that you will not be.
From Bank of America.
This is a Bank of America backed program.
They act as a nonprofit mortgage broker to simplify it is the way it works.
Your personal question, where are you from?
Where am I from? I'm from the Charlotte area, Mount Holly, Gastonia, Gaston County, to be specific.
Okay. So do you know what you're going to do when you leave here?
I'm going to be taking a gap year and hopefully apply to vet school and get into vet school at North Carolina State University.
You don't want to come out and be a mortgage broker or anything like that?
No.
Okay, you have a couple of gentlemen here with you. Who are they?
Oh, yes, this is my professor, Dr. Tim Verhey. He was the one that taught the Sage 450 class. And then we also have Mr. Jeff Robertson. He is the vice president at St. Andrews University. That's also been helping me with this project.
I thought that's who that was right there. Anybody
yeah.
else? Anything? Thank you for coming. And I think everybody also got your booklet too. So
All right,
we
thank
will
you.
be able to.
Again, if you need any more information, you can go to NACA.com or you can contact me or someone else at the school and I can help you get that information.
Thank you, Mr.
Sounds great. Thank you. All right, moving on to our next item is emergency communication national telecommunicator proclamation. Samantha, there she is.
Good evening. So in preparation of coming before you to ask for your support for this proclamation, I did gather some rough data from 2023 that I wanted to highlight. So our emergency telecommunicators, our 911 operators, each year, or in 2023, answered 35,699 911 calls in Scotland County. They answered 81,960 non-emergency calls in Scotland County, entered 48,913 calls for service to be dispatched to our emergency services personnel across the county, and answered 1,560,000 radio transmissions in 2023.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. So each year, the second week of April is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. That week is set aside to highlight the importance of the job that these professionals do. These can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services. And whereas an emergency occurs, the prompt response of police officers, sheriff's deputies, firefighters, and paramedics is the safety of our police officers, firefighters, sheriff's deputies, and paramedics are dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information of citizens who telephone the Scotland County Emergency Communication. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety telecommunicators are their activities by radio, providing them information and ensuring their safety. And whereas public safety telecommunicators of the Scotland County Communication Center have contributed substantially to the apprehension of criminals, suppression of fires, and treatment of patients. And whereas each has exhibited compassion, understanding, and professionalism during the performance of their job in the past year. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Scotland County Board of Commissioners that the week of April 14th through the 20th is to be National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in Scotland County in honor of the men and women whose diligence and professionalism keep our county and citizens safe. Does anybody have any questions about any of the statistics I gave?
Anything? Any question?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the proclamation and ask that the chairman sign.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right, moving right along, Scotland County DSS, Kim McCray, got you listed first here. So, is that right?
Greetings to everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm Kimberly McCray with the Scotland County Department of Social Services. April for us is a very exciting month. It is National Child Abuse Prevention Month. And on Friday, April the 5th, is National Wear Blue Day. And that is to show support and bring awareness to child abuse prevention. Also, during the month of April, on April the 24th, we will hold a ribbon cutting ceremony at Cynthia's place at DSS. And that place, it is being remodeled and renovated. And that is a place where families and children can feel safe and feel at home. So we would like to present our staff who have come today from CPS, as well as from our leadership development team. So if you would stand, please. These are the people who work diligently every day for the prevention of child abuse. And now the program administrator, Miss Wendy Stanton, will come to read the proclamation.
Good evening. In recognition of April as Child Abuse Prevention Month, I have the proclamation that I would like to read. Whereas children are vital to our state and county's future success, prosperity, and quality of life, as well as being the most vulnerable assets. And whereas all children deserve to have the safe, stable, nurturing homes and communities they need to foster their healthy growth and development. And whereas child abuse and neglect is a community responsibility affecting both the current and future quality of life of a community. And whereas communities that provide parents with the social support, knowledge of parenting and child development, and concrete resources they need to cope with stress and nurture their own children, ensure all children grow to their full potential. And whereas effective child abuse prevention strategies succeed because of partnerships created among citizens, human services, schools, faith communities, healthcare providers, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. Now, therefore, it be proclaimed by the Scotland County Board of Commissioners that April 2024 is Child Abuse Prevention Month in Scotland County, and urge all citizens, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, elected leaders, and businesses to increase their participation in efforts to support families, thereby preventing child abuse and strengthening the communities in which we live. Thank you.
We'll break because I think you have another one also.
We do.
So let's go ahead and look for the first proclamation
Second.
okay, a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion? All right, all in favor?
All right.
Any opposed? All right, next.
Thank you all. April is a very exciting month for us over at DSS, and April is Reentry Second Chance Month. And we have Reentry Day coming up on April the 17th from 10 a.m. to 1 o'clock p.m. at 231 Crawley Street here in Laurinburg. And the purpose of Reentry program, they like to raise awareness, educate, and give opportunities to justice-involved citizens. And we are honored tonight to have our very own Miss Linda Ross, who is the chairman of Scotland County's Reentry Board, to come and read our proclamation.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good
Good
evening.
evening. Okay. Proclamation. In recognition of April as Second Chance Month, whereas a great majority of the incarcerated individual in North Carolina will eventually return to communities, and whereas formerly incarcerated individuals face many hurdles upon their release in securing employment, housing, transportation, and health care, and to develop programs and policy here for these individuals to live healthy, as well as successful lives. And whereas Scotland County Reentry Council and reentry professionals are identifying ways to better serve and assist the formerly incarcerated with their transition. And whereas providing resources for the formerly incarcerated is a community-wide effort among the Reentry Council, reentry professional, faith-based organization, volunteers, and the state of North Carolina. And whereas all these efforts by policymakers, reentry professionals, and volunteers help to reduce the stigma of incarceration and provide justice-involved people with increased opportunity and a better chance of a successful reentry into the community. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed by Scotland County Board of Commissioners that April be proclaimed as Second Chance Month in Scotland County. Proclaimed this first day of April 2024.
Okay, thank you. All right, any questions on that? Motion or?
Offer a motion that we also approve the proclamation for Second Chance Month.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for your time.
Next, Mr. McMillan is here planning
We had presented to us at our last board meeting, a presentation by WNC for an application of special use permit to add to an existing tower new equipment for their transmission. We checked for special use permit, met all of the requirements, 5 requirements for that. We found that all the paperwork, all the documentation was in order. And upon voting on this proposed co-location, the board approved it unanimously to send to you, the county commissioners, for your consideration. Any questions?
Where's that tower? I'm just trying to get in my
Uh,
head.
Go out to the crossroads at John's,
From
hang
where?
right, John Station,
Uh-huh.
hang right, and it's out there on the left, half mile, 3/4
That
mile,
way.
somewhere out
I-
that way.
Okay, I thought maybe it was that one near the landfill, but that's
Yeah,
not.
there's already a tower out there, and you can see it if you drive down John's Road.
It's just gonna be extra equipment there, right?
Extra equipment. There'll be a small structure there for digital
Whatever.
technical stuff, and I can't tell you what it is, but
Yeah,
beyond me.
I wouldn't know if you did tell me. Anything, questions?
No, I offer a motion for approval.
We have a motion.
I'll second it.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, sir. I like it when it comes short and sweet. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda is the Cypress Creek Solar Farm applications and the hearing that we will have to have around, revolving around that. There's a couple of statements that I need to read first, and after that, then we can move into that hearing. This is a disclosure call, basically. The parties to this case are entitled to an impartial board. A board member may not participate in this hearing if she or he has a fixed opinion about the matter, a financial interest in the outcome of the matter, or a close relationship with an affected person. Does any board member have any partiality to disclose or recusal to offer?
Yes, Mr. Commissioner, I do.
Okay.
I have business dealings with probably everyone involved.
Okay.
So I asked to recluse myself from the vote.
It'd be up to the board to take a vote on that, to approve the recusal if it's the board's desire to do that.
Okay. Anybody else before we,
I just.
do we need to make a motion on that or?
Yes.
Okay.
Just, I know that one of the applicants in this is, I think Lee Howell, and Lee Howell and I serve on 2 different other boards. But I know him as another member of the community.
Yeah, well, I think everybody. Yeah,
So
well,
you
we all
recusing
know.
yourself?
No,
No,
Oh,
no,
oh,
I
no.
don't think that's not,
I was
that's
gonna say, all of
not,
us.
that's not going to impact my decision, but I
I agree.
just need people to know that.
All right. So we need a motion for Commissioner Frizell to recuse himself from the vote with this caveat in this, and this even goes into saying he has to leave, but let's don't, well, yeah. I mean, but you can't participate in the discussions or questions or
understand.
whatever. So, okay. It's up to you guys. We have to approve that recusal if you're going to approve.
I mean, you need one of us. So
Yeah,
it's
you'll
okay.
need a
I'll make the-
motion.
I'll make the motion to allow him to recuse himself.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? You're recused officially. Okay. The next thing, this opening statement of the hearing is a quasi judicial evidentiary hearing. That means it's like a court hearing. State law sets specific procedures and rules concerning how the board must make its decision. These rules are different from other types of land use decisions like rezoning cases. The board's discretion is limited. The board must base its decision upon competent, relevant, and substantial evidence in the record. A quasi judicial decision is not a popularity contest. It is a decision constrained by the standards in the ordinance and based on the facts presented. If you will be speaking as a witness, please focus on the facts and standard, not on personal preference or opinion. Participation is limited. The meeting is open to the public. Everyone is welcome to watch. Parties with standing have rights to participate fully. Parties may present evidence, call witness, and make legal arguments. Parties are limited to the applicant, the local government, and individuals who can show they will suffer special damages. Other individuals may serve as witnesses when called by the board. General witnesses' testimony is limited to facts, not opinions. For certain topics, this board needs to hear opinion testimony from expert witnesses. These topics include individuals providing expert opinion must be qualified as experts and provide the factual evidence upon which they base their expert opinion. Witnesses must swear or affirm to their testimony. And at this time, we will administer the oath to all individuals who intend to provide sworn testimony. Just stand right up here. If you
Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in this case?
Yes. All right, so I guess we'll start with, you want to begin with your, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Tom Terrell. I'm with the law firm Fox Rothschild in the Greensboro office of the firm. You have at your desk 2 notebooks. One of them is for the first hearing and one notebook is for the second hearing. I offer these right now as evidence on both of these hearings. You will see that we took your standards for a special use permit very seriously. The evidence in there not only is competent and not only is material, but it is quite substantial. I'd like, and Mr. Chairman, if with your permission, I think we can go through a little bit quicker tonight because some of the evidence in the first one and some of our comments are going to be taken in the second. If we could just accept,
Combine them into one.
just combining a little bit more. I think technically we have to have 2 hearings, but we can, if you'll allow me, I will get my witnesses to basically adopt their testimony.
Okay.
And that can speed things along and get you out of here quickly. It's good to be back here in Scotland County. I think Laurinburg, I enjoy working with one of the best county attorneys that I get to work with as I travel across the state. We have, if you would take out the Laurel Crest notebook, this is the one that has the butterscotch cover. And I'm just going to take about 2 minutes and just quickly walk you through what we have tab by tab. The first is the special use permit standards. This comes out of your ordinance. You already have approved several solar farms under these standards. You have already found that solar does not harm health and safety. You've already found it doesn't harm the property values of adjoining property. You found them consistent with your comprehensive plan. Nonetheless, we still provide you the same evidence. There is what's called res judicata. You've already made these decisions, but we still want you to see how serious we are. The first tab after that is our application narrative. It has all those standards as applied to Laurel Crest. After that, there are some frequently asked questions about solar. This is something we hand out often at neighborhood meetings or send out in letters to neighbors before we have a meeting, so people can, get an idea of what this is all about. If you want to see the site plan, we have 2 pull-outs at the next tab. And then behind that, and this is probably one of the most important tabs in here, Paul Miller will speak after me and show you more than that. We are showing you the landscape plan. These landscape plans are done and sealed by landscape architects. But basically, you won't be able to see these panels. And that's number one. Number two, we go above and beyond in many places what your ordinance requires on that. The next tab is health and safety. When Mr. Sandifer gets up here, these are his materials. He will give you his credentials as to why he is an expert. And Chairman Alvey will ask you at that time to recognize him as an expert. We have at the next, many people for some reason think that solar farms are exempt from the Clean Water Act. They are not. Every buffer to a wetland and to a stream has to be met. In fact, the companies that do those go out and they delineate, where the boundaries are. The next tab is the market impact study. It is the thickest thing in here. Kirkland, again, he will also present his credentials. His company, by the way, has done more of these studies than any company in the United States. They are deemed by many people to be the country's leading experts on this subject because of the data that they have compiled. The next tab is harmony with the area. We take that and show you some photographs to kind of basically say, you've got these 90-foot transmission lines already over here. You won't see the panels, but you see the transmission line. Nobody ever complains about that. You're going to see a very quick PowerPoint in a second. And then there's a tab in here on decommissioning. And Ms. Miller will explain that we meet 100% of your decommission requirements for moving it. And that includes 100% of bonding the removal of this. So if we could move along, I'm going to ask Ms. Miller if she would introduce herself and just go you through a quick PowerPoint.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone, and happy Easter Monday for those of you who maybe were also dying Easter eggs this weekend. So my name's Nicole Miller, as Tom said. I'm part of Cypress Creek Renewables. My address is 5310 South Alston Ave, Durham, North Carolina. I am going to be presenting both of these sites tonight. So Laurel Crest and Scotch Grove. I want to note before we start what happens with these projects. So both of these projects are right now prospects. They would ultimately have to be selected by Duke Energy in order to become full, shovel-ready projects that we actually connect to the grid. So if chosen, these projects are then included in the long-term generation for Duke Energy and would start construction in about 3 to 4 years. The reason that we're here tonight is because we want to be able to be sure to say to Duke Energy, yes, we're ready to start. You can definitely depend on us if we are indeed chosen. So I did want to emphasize, I'm going to walk through both of these projects tonight. Both are prospects. Both do depend on selection by Duke Energy before being fully built. So that being said, Cypress Creek Renewables, we are, we've been around since 2014. We've done a lot of work, particularly in the Southeast, and ultimately developed about 12 gigawatts. You can go over to the next slide. So as you can tell from the previous slide, we have a lot of history, particularly in North Carolina. So we've developed in over 67 counties and invested about $2.5 billion in the state, which does not include an additional $3 million that we pay every year to local taxes in the counties in which we serve. I will note as well, so we have offices in Durham and Asheville, and our office in Durham also houses our 24/7 control center, and that takes care of and really monitors our sites across the entire nation. So why Scotland County? This is a question that I think we got during the planning board, and appreciate Jim for proposing this. So why Scotland County and why now? So essentially we need sites that are going to be flat, dry, and along transmission lines. These end up being the lowest cost for ratepayers like us. And until recently, Scotland County had flat, dry land, but the transmission lines didn't have capacity. So Duke Energy has recently said that they're going to expand the transmission lines. They're essentially going to add more capacity, which means that sites that weren't previously feasible are now feasible. That being said, this doesn't mean you're going to see 100 solar sites in Scotland County. You're only going to see enough that, or rather the ones that are lowest cost, kind of best operating. So that's why we're here tonight. We believe that we have 2 of them. We want to act quickly while there is this capacity. And we do believe, given the capacity, that it can be 2 really good additions to Scotland County. Okay, So getting actually into this specific site, this is an 80 megawatt solar facility located along Old Wire Road. For this one, it is about 460 acres and has a $4.6 million decommissioning bond associated with it. So that is essentially to return the project to the original use after we're done. Again, as I said, electricity would be sold to Duke Energy. And the site includes 30-foot setbacks, 20-foot to all property lines, and the vegetative buffer. I do want to note that this particular site has a neighbor to, if you kind of look in this, I should have brought a laser pointer, but if you look, yeah, to the lower area. So there's a neighbor that we worked with. We had a meeting on October 26th, and actually only one neighbor came out. We had a really good conversation with him. He stayed the whole time. We talked. And we ended up being able to agree to building out essentially a 4-acre buffer between his land and our property to ensure that he has still the good views that he has now. He still has access to his land, and he's ultimately able to retain that. One other note that I'll add, so during the planning board meeting, we did additionally commit to voluntary third-party monitoring during construction to ensure that all of our stormwater is up to date. Does this also go next? Oh, perfect. Okay. So as Tom mentioned, we did work with a landscape architect, and they helped put together these designs. So this design in particular, let me see if I got the, oh, it's just a laser pointer. Oh, okay. Oh, so this is going to be the main one. This is, if you're along Old Wire Road, this is an example of what this particular vegetative buffer would look like. So this is a person who's about 6 feet. This vegetative buffer would hit about 10 feet per the ordinance within 3 years. Again, this is kind of what it would look like. Just wanted to provide that visual representation. Go to the next slide. This is just highlighting some of the diligence that we've done to the site thus far. We did want to make sure that this is, again, one of the best sites that we can provide both for Scotland County and for Cypress Creek. So we've done a number of studies to ensure that the endangered species and wetlands will not be impacted. Additionally, we've got a health and safety report that we can speak to in a little bit. And we did do a decommissioning plan and full estimate. Next slide. So Laurel Crest would provide about $5 million in tax revenue over the site's 40-year operational life. Additionally, we would have about 100 jobs and be enough to power about 15,000 homes. One thing I did want to mention is, so I previously talked about decommissioning and the bond that we have associated with that. I did want to point out that North Carolina is actually one of the first states to have a statewide decommissioning bill. This essentially provides, or it ensures that every site that's going to be in operation has a decommissioning plan and a bond to go with it. Additionally, our leases actually absolve the landowner from responsibility and ultimately make sure that the land is returned to the original site. I've also included here, this is a website for YouTube just to see how the decommissioning works, particularly for how solar recycling works. There's a solar recycling facility that's actually opening up in Salisbury, North Carolina. So you've probably seen us around Scotland County recently. We've enjoyed being around in the county. We've been at a lot of events. I'd be remiss if I didn't notice or didn't mention that we've also had, pardon me, a scholarship program that we've enjoyed sponsoring is one of 27 counties nationwide. We've partnered with St. Andrews and Beta Box Learning and are looking forward to continuing to work in Scotland County. With that, so the next slide is just another picture. And I'm happy to pass it off to Chris Sandifer to or answer any questions if that's, answer questions now or later?
Yeah, I think it's
Okay, cool.
Chris to take care.
Yeah.
Good evening, board. Thank you for hearing us. Good Monday. My name is Chris Sandifer. I've testified before this board on several occasions. I'll present some of my credentials. I have other ones if the issues arise, but I am a licensed engineer in 15 states across the South and Midwest. I'm a licensed electrical contractor in North Carolina with unlimited classification, and we have installed and removed solar farm facilities. I grew up on a farm, live on a farm, got 100 acres of panel on my farm. I just signed a lease for 30 more acres to go under panel. So I've installed them, I've removed them, I've lived with them, so I'm fairly familiar with them. I worked for Duke Energy for 30 years, and the last 5 years of that or so, ending in 2012, I guess, 2011, 2012, it was my job to interconnect utility scale solar farms. And so I'll present that to you if you want to know any other licenses.
I think what we need is just the board's assent that he is an expert in the health and safety of solar farms.
Right. And is there any questions on that? There is in the back of that tab, for the lack of a better word, I'll call it a resume. I don't know if it's a full resume, but it of his, and asks that I think we can certify him as an expert in health and safety on solar farms, unless there's any other discussion on it. Anything? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would say also compatibility, I serve on the planning board in Nash County, and we've approved 37 so far utility scale solar farms. And so we find them highly compatible in our county. And so first, I think I just put some boundaries. I'm an engineer. I work from boundary conditions, and you guys have 16 solar farms already, utility 133 megawatts. If both of these farms are approved, I'm not here right now on behalf of Laurel Crest, but if both of them were approved with the ones that you already have, you would still be using less than 1% of the land surface area in the county. I know that you say, well, 600 acres, it's true, but, and then the other one's 400 acres, but totally it's less than 1% of the county. And so I think that's important for some folks to kind of get in perspective. The other thing I wanted to say is there are no harsh chemicals. There's nothing that can leach out of these panels. There's nothing going to store the groundwater. The fact is, these actually recharge the groundwater because they don't use any water. It's not like a farm where you're pumping water out of the ground and irrigating corn, soybeans, whatever. These solar panels, I mean, they use the rain because it washes them off when it gets dust. And so in this part of the country, we don't have to wash them because the rain washes off, but that water goes right into the ground and recharges the aquifer. And so the fact that they're safe, there's very little traffic associated with them. Typically, one of these farms would have less traffic than one residential dwelling place. And there's no odor, there's no noise. There, not at the boundary with no noise. There's a little fan on the inverters, but you can't hear it at the boundary. And these don't run at night, so they make no noise at night. And so there will be a substation. Most likely it'll have some light, security lighting at the substation, just like Duke would have. They're going to have to put their substation interconnect with it, and I'm sure they're going to have light on theirs too. And so, but that's in a sequestered area, so that should not be any impact. So, in my professional opinion, Laurel Crest, if installed and operated the way it's planned, would not materially impact the health and safety of folks in Scotland County. And I can talk for 30 minutes, or I can just ask you if you have any questions and save your time.
Do that. Okay. Well, and since we have you certified now, if you want to go ahead and address the other one as well, you can do
Yes,
that.
I'll be glad to do that. My opinion on the one down the road from it is the same. It's the same topography, and I've already told you about the total land mass. And so they're using the same equipment, the same procedures, same. Both of these projects would have to comply with the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. Going to have to get erosion control sedimentation plans approved. They're going to have wetlands approved for before they can impact those. They're going to have, I don't have to have glare studies on this one, but they're going to have to, if there's driveways, they're going to have to get DOT permits for the driveways. This is just the start. I mean, they have many more hurdles that they have to get to ever get this thing installed, including getting Duke to purchase the energy.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions for me
Yeah, I'd be glad to entertain questions.
on either one of these? Oh, you don't have, I thought you said you had one. Okay, all right, thank you,
Thank you
sir.
very much.
And, all right, this is the,
Hi, my name is Nick Kirkland with Kirkland Appraisals. I'm the property impact study.
property impact.
Yes, sir.
Okay, trying to get to the right page here.
It's the really big one.
Of course.
Marketing.
Market impact
Marketing.
Yes, sir.
is what it's called. Okay. All right, and all right. Tell us about your qualifications.
Sure. I'm a state certified general appraiser in North Carolina, Kentucky, Indiana, and Virginia. I'm a candidate for designation through the Appraisal Institute. I've been accepted as an expert in property value impacts in hundreds of hearings, from boards as small as planning boards up to state siting boards. And I've been an appraiser for over 9 years.
Okay. And again, if you want to turn to the back of that tab, there is a list of,
The
I'll stop short of
qualifications
calling
are-
it I won't call it a resume, but it qualifications
The
is there.
qualifications are for the other appraiser that signed this. My qualifications are not attached.
Oh,
I'm
so this
happy to
is
go
not
through-
yours?
That is correct.
Okay,
There's 2 appraisers who have signed this, me and another one.
all right.
Mine are not attached.
Yours
I'm
are
happy to
not
go through
attached.
mine again if you'd like.
No, it's fine. It's, okay,
It's similar in
That's-
format. It's just
right.
slightly different courses on different years.
Any objection to him being recognized as a expert witness? All right, thank you. We certify your expertise.
Thank you. So at Kirkland Appraisals, we've looked at well over 1,000 solar farms, the vast majority of which have been located within the Southeast. And all of those that we're talking about are ground mounted utility scale, just like is proposed here. So what we've done for the proposed Laurel Crest is we've looked at, okay, well, out of 1,000 plus solar farms, where are they normally located? What's the most common adjoining uses? Are they normally found in industrial areas? Are they found in rural areas, or where are they normally found? And additionally, what are the most common adjoining uses? What we found is that almost all solar facilities are located in rural to suburban areas and predominantly are located on agricultural or residential land. The common misconception is that they're sited on industrial tracts, but that's just typically not something that occurs. Part of something that could lead to that misconception is oftentimes after they've been rezoned or put a conditional use, the land underneath gets rezoned to industrial, which can often lead to that. But this proposed site is very similar to what we typically see for solar facilities, with most of the adjoining uses being agricultural or residential in nature. Therefore, it's my professional opinion that the proposed use will be in harmony in the areas in which it is to be located. Additionally, in order to determine whether or not this use would have an impact on adjoining property values, we've done what's called a matched pair or paired sales analysis. This involves comparing homes that have sold adjacent to solar facilities next to other similar nearby homes that do not adjoin these facilities in order to measure for any difference. The idea is if there's 2 homes that are very similar, except one is next to the solar facility and one is not, what impact does the solar facility have on the value of the adjoining one would be the impact that the solar facility would typically have. So we've got 90 plus examples that show that houses next to solar facilities do not sell for less than other nearby houses. Additionally, this is supported by multiple university studies, which show that in rural areas, solar facilities do not impact adjoining property values. And finally, the last thing that we've done is we've reached out to tax assessors and appraisers in the tax departments in 188 counties across 10 states, including Scotland County. Of those, the respondents have indicated 90% of them said they make no adjustments to the negative for adjoining properties that are next to solar facilities. So these are for counties that already have solar farms in them and sited in the ground. 90% said, nope, we make no adjustments. There's no basis for adjusting anything, any house next to a solar facility downwards. 10% said they had no comment. 0% of those 188 counties said they make any adjustment to the negative for adjoining properties. Based on these factors, it's my professional opinion that the proposed solar facility will not impact the adjoining property values. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. Anyone have any questions on?
Is that your opinion as to each of these projects?
Is that
It is my opinion to both of these based on that data. Yes, sir.
okay? All right. No questions from anyone on from Mr. Kirkland. Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
I actually do have a question, if I may.
Okay.
Was there, in any of your findings, did you ever find a case where the property where the solar farm was going to go was not harmonious with the surrounding area? And if so, why?
So let me understand the question. Have we ever found whether or not a solar facility would be not harmonious where it would be located?
Right.
There are solar facilities that we see that people ask us to do impact studies on that we indicate, hey, there isn't a vegetative buffer here, that not every county requires one, or there appears to be some houses 50 feet away. We're not going to be able to make an impact study that says no impact unless these factors can be addressed. And oftentimes that helps as a preliminary measure for adjustments to be made in order for us to make a report that would conform to the data that we've seen, or we are not hired to continue to make an impact study. But the projects that we show up and testify to have been harmonious. And a lot of that is due to, in part, if a developer brings forward a project, we're not going to sign something just saying it's harmonious if it's not harmonious based on all the data that we've seen in other facilities.
Can you give me an example of what it would be near that you would consider it non-harmonious?
It has less to do with what it would be located near and more in how it is sited within a community. This goes into, so there's a concept in appraising called externalities. It's essentially what is a characteristic of a property that could cause it to impact an adjoining property. Examples of this, especially in Eastern North Carolina, would be odor, like a hog facility, poultry facility, things like that, or traffic, noise, hazardous materials, things of that nature that could have an impact. Well, for a solar facility like this, the only real concern is appearance. That is the most common one. So when they're not utilizing some sort of extended setback, they're not using vegetative buffer or a landscaping screen within the fencing, that helps. Those all ameliorate the concerns of the appearance. For projects that have not had that in the initial request for us to do an impact study, we're replying with, we are not able to furnish you an impact study that says this would not have an impact if you do not provide things to actually mitigate any potential concerns.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Again, keeping this moving quickly, I think we can do the second application. If you'd like to do that and get all the evidence in and then have public speak, would that
That's
be
fine.
the, okay,
That would be the, yes.
okay. We have a more yellow mustard colored notebook that is on your desk. This notebook is identical in all respects with the exception of the site plan is different. At that tab, it shows the one for Scotch Grove Solar. The buffer exhibits are a little bit different. It shows where the applicant is going above and beyond and having even more thicker, taller landscaping buffers.
Will it be visible?
I'm sorry?
Will it be visible?
No, it will not. It will not. And that is the whole point of this. And the only other difference is there's some information on battery storage. It is possible that Duke Energy may elect to put some batteries at the point of interconnection. That's not something we know right now. So we put something in there on that. Commissioner Gibson, if I could address Harmony also while I'm standing here. The North Carolina Supreme Court on many occasions has said that when you list a use as allowable in a certain zoning district, there is a legal presumption that it's harmonious with other uses. And so we love putting those cases in. We've actually put it into the notebook, and there has to be evidence to the contrary. But in this case, you won't be able to see it, smell it, hear it. There won't be traffic that you can feel. And especially, Commissioner Williams, as you requested, if you can't see it, the harmony is pretty clear because the transmission lines historically have been there. Nobody knows they're there, and you just don't see, in your mind's eye. That concludes, I'm sorry, we have 6 slides that are unique to this. We would just like to very quickly introduce them.
You're up again.
Thank you. Long time no see. All right, so as Tom mentioned, this project also located in Scotland County, obviously. This is another 80 megawatt solar facility. This one has the option to add a 32 megawatt battery. Again, that's up to the discretion of Duke Energy. This one is a little bit larger. It's on 750 acres and ultimately is along 15501. So similar to Laurel Crest, we had a neighbors meeting. We talked to folks and we sent out mailers to everyone who is surrounding the site. After that meeting, we had a lot of good discussion. Additionally, at the planning board, we had a lot of really good discussion there about some changes that could be made to the site. So again, a lot of this is familiar, but what I do want to focus on are the changes to this site that we've made to address the concerns of the planning board and the neighbors. So if you go to the next one. Along 15501 and Monroe Road, which is to the north, we've increased our setbacks. So increase them 20 times to 200 feet to account for neighbors to the north, and 10 times along 15501 to account for that road. We know that that's the road that you use coming in and out of Scotland County. I've driven it myself a number of times now, and we want to make sure that that stays, to your point, harmonious with the remainder of the area. On this site, we also added an additional 10 feet to wetland setbacks for a total of 40 feet, just to add that reassurance. Because this is a larger site and we have some existing wildlife corridors, we've actually added and put some self-imposed restrictions on additional wildlife corridors. So what that means is essentially our fences won't block this. So the areas that the wildlife already use to navigate from east to west and north to south, they will still be able to use. So we're going to build around those areas to make sure that wildlife still have the opportunity to move freely. We've additionally moved some site entrances. After construction, our folks will only be out a couple times a month. But that being said, we didn't want to have site entrances next to residences. So we've moved them around and kind of redesigned the site to make sure that is better for folks. Additionally, and I think this is the one that we're most, well, I don't want to say most excited about, but we're very excited about, is we've also increased the vegetative buffer. So again, north along Monroe Road, as well as everywhere that you could see the site when driving along 15501, we've actually increased the vegetative buffer considerably to 25 feet deep. Similarly, if you go to the next site, we did work with the landscape design on this one as well, just to show like, what is this going to look like? And what is it actually what are you actually going to see? And so to your question, you can see, you're not going to see at a high level the solar panels. If you're flying over it, you'll see it, but high level, you won't see it. Go to the next site. Again, this is just everything we've done for the site. And then last thing I want to touch on for the next slide is, again, this site has economic benefits to Scotland County. The biggest difference here is that if we add in the battery system, because that has an increased amount of capital, that would actually add an additional $2 million in tax benefits. So I did want to highlight that there's a range from 5 to 7 million, and what ultimately impacts that is a decision of whether or not Duke would elect to add battery storage. And then, yeah, everything else is the same.
I have a question. I got a question for her too.
I don't think she did.
As it relates to the buffers and the shrubbery that would be planted, what would be the plan for maintaining as it dies? Because of course, over time, some of those trees die and they don't look good. Is there a
Yeah.
plan for maintenance?
Yeah, and that's absolutely so. We've been in this industry again 10 years, and we've been in North Carolina during that time. I think we'll say frankly, we've learned a hard lesson on that, where at first we didn't understand how to take care of them as maybe you should. So that's one of the reasons that we're actually involving landscape architect early now to make sure that we're planting the right things. That being said, if there are things that are ultimately, not sustained, we would replace those. That's part of the ongoing operations and maintenance that we do for the sites. But yeah, I recognize even driving in today, I think there are some sites that, I don't think our sites, but some sites that don't look great. And again, this is a lesson that we've learned over the last 10 years. And one of the reasons we've engaged a landscape architect early on.
The Laura Crest solar site, you said would generate 15,000, enough energy for 15,000 homes?
Correct.
How many with this site?
15,000 as well.
15,000.
Yep.
All right. I know you guys in the business of setting up solar farms and they create energy for Duke Energy. One of my concerns is when will the citizens directly be able to benefit from some of this energy?
Yeah.
When would the citizens of Scotland County can say that you guys are not just sending our energy to the metro areas and our citizens here have to look at these solar farms?
Yeah, sure. For it.
Maybe, I just thought Mr. Sandifer might be the better one. You already are taking advantage of solar farms that are in other counties plus this county that are keeping your rates constant. What solar does is it's the cheapest form of energy production out there. It's actually gotten a lot more efficient, so that when other costs might make your energy bills go up, those other costs don't affect solar. So what solar does is to create a cost through cost containment. They keep rates flatter than they otherwise would be. This company will enter into what is called a power purchase agreement with Duke, and that power purchase agreement is flat for several years, and then it goes up by a certain amount, but then it's flat. So Duke Energy knows that its cost of getting energy from this facility remains flat. And that is a cost containment for you and your citizens. Now, again, you've already been benefiting from solar in this region and that are being put on this transmission line. Chris, you could probably do a better job than I. Would you want to add to that?
I think you help stabilize the cost because the sunshine cost does not go up. So once you get the capital investment in, the maintenance is very low. It's not like a plant that uses fuel that you constantly have to worry about what the price of fuel is going to be, because that's not a concern. And the maintenance is very low. So it's just really a capital investment. It kind of sits out there very benign, just sits there and does what it does. These panels that we're putting in are very efficient. I'd say they're 60 times more efficient than photosynthesis. So if you're trying to make energy with corn, these would displace 60 acres for every acre you're trying to make with corn. 1 acre of solar panels would equal 60 acres that you were trying to make fuel with corn. So if you're gonna use it for fuel. The other thing I was gonna say is
Step on over the mic.
I'm
There's
sorry.
People watching it live, so they
Yeah,
can't hear
I'm
you
sorry.
unless you're right at the.
do I need to repeat it?
No, go ahead.
Okay. And I was going to say there's one thing, and that's from the Department of Energy. But the EPA has also done studies, and so you want to know what the benefit is in this county.
Yeah,
Is
there's two parts. Those that stay in the county on Lumbee River or other electric. Those in the city is on the city's electric city, which buys energy from Duke. So, you know, the city of Lombard can benefit from it. This region is in Scotland County. So some of that cost savings can be passed on to the city in any way.
well, that's what I'm saying. If they're purchasing their energy, Electric Cities is Laurinburg is a part of Electric Cities.
Yes, sir.
I can't remember which. There's two groups, but they're in one of the groups, Electric Cities. But Electric Cities purchases their power from wherever they can get it the cheapest. That's the whole point of Electric Cities. Let's find the cheapest power we can buy. Well, if Duke can provide that with solar, then that's how they're going to buy it. That's Electric Cities going to buy the cheapest power they got. If it ain't Duke, they'll buy it from Dominion. If not them, they're going to buy it wherever they can. That's the whole purpose of that organization is to bring a bunch of municipalities together to buy
Yes, sir.
in bulk, and they buy us power as cheap as they can. So yes, Duke will be able to provide them power at a lower rate because of solar. That's one. That comes from the Department of Energy. Solar standalone is to produce electricity cheaper than gas, cheaper than nuclear, cheaper than coal, cheaper than wind, cheaper than hydro. Although those options aren't available anymore. I mean, there's no more rivers to dam up. So,
But we've got citizens looking, and you know, I just wanted to ask that question.
but there is another important, for every kilowatt hour that's produced here, they're probably paying, Duke's probably paying them, I don't know, it's none of my business, it's 1.5. I don't know how good a negotiator Cypress Creek is, but they have negotiated that price. But half of that money comes back to the county in the form of reduced health costs. Because now for every megawatt hour that's here, there's like 30 tons of coal ash that doesn't have to be disposed of. There's not the carbon monoxide, it's not the carbon dioxide, it's not the nitric oxide, it's not the sulfur dioxide. All the stuff that emits out of those stacks, you're not having to bring that anymore. According to the EPA, that improves your health costs by about 2.75 cents a kilowatt hour, which is almost what these guys are getting paid to produce it. And your health costs are going down that much because I think that's a real impact. So, I mean, and that's worth a lot.
I got a question. When would the first check be written?
Sir?
When would the first check be written to the county as a form of tax revenue and all that? When would that, from that one?
Okay, I heard somebody say they were talking about putting development here. I'm on planning board
No.
in that county.
What I'm trying to say before is the revenue for tax revenue, the money. Wow.
Oh, you're talking about for the taxes?
Yeah, it would be in the first year of its construction, which
Okay.
in anticipated 2027.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misunderstood you.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought that's what we were getting to, but I want to know money wise. Yeah, that's what I'm concerned with.
Of course. So depending on how long it takes to get it built, part of that again is it's built. Yep.
Yeah, did you ever cover the decommissioning bond on the Scotch Grove, or was
I
it?
believe was on there, yeah. So it is $7.6 million. And I should note that both of those are well above. We did decommissioning estimates for both sites, and both are well above
Okay.
the estimate. For
I
the
just
cost to
didn't
cover.
see it, so
Yeah,
maybe
apologies.
in
I
a
need to
later
go back
slide, but
a couple slides. It's
all right.
on the Scotch Grove one. Up a couple more on the first one. There you go. Yep. So it's going to be at least 7.5, more likely 7.6 million to get it back to the original state, and that's in accordance with your current ordinance.
It's the first thing I did too. Okay.
There's a lot of text on there.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes the presentation on both Laurel Crest and Scotch Grove Solar. I think that the board will find that the evidence we presented on both is competent, material, and substantial. We're glad to be here and to further ask questions if anyone from the public speaks to present something that's contrary.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else needing to be sworn and testify in this matter? We lost Mr. McFadden. He coming back?
He's coming back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hearing and seeing none, then we can close the hearing first, and we'll do that now. We'll close the hearing on both of these, and then we'll open it up for board discussion.
Mr. Chairman, I do want to ask for clarification, and I maybe should have done it during the actual hearing.
Yes.
On page 8 of the very first section, where you've got, you cite the court cases, and then you go to the objectives. This is in both, yeah. If you go down 3 lines, it should be noted that there will be a few hundred created. I assume that means jobs.
Yes.
Right.
Jobs, thank you.
Well, I was wondering if we could insert what we wanted, like a few $100,000 in additional tax revenue.
Right. I think it actually said jobs on the slide.
Right.
It's that way in both of your books.
I appreciate you catching that.
Well, I just wanted you to know that that we actually do read this stuff. when you get
Which
to it.
actually,
Yeah.
I'm very impressed, and thank you for that.
Oh, and ask it for that reason. I just wanted clarification.
Okay, any other discussions? Oh, there he is. All right, if there's no other questions and no other discussion about it this time, we would need to do 2 separate motions here, correct?
I think so. And the actual order, it's the board to approve these, is going to be submitted for my review. That's the way we normally do these.
Okay.
The applicant would submit a proposed order for your eventual signature.
Gotcha. All right, so we'll take them one at a time. Laurel Crest first, and then we'll do Scotch Grove application.
Mr. Chairman, I will make the motion that we approve the application from Laurel Crest.
Offer second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other questions, discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, now we'll offer up Scotch Grove Solar's application.
Mr.
And
Chairman,
keeping in mind that his conditions of the order provided and that kind of thing.
I'd like to offer a motion that we approve the Scotch Grove application pending attorney approval.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you all.
Thank you.
And don't feel like you have to stay if you need to go. I know you got to get back to Raleigh, so we wouldn't hold that against you. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda, solar farm ordinance amendment that we discussed at our budget session last week. We didn't do it at that time just because we wanted to make sure there was everybody had time to read it. So, but they did do a presentation, and we did hold our public hearing on the ordinance change at that time. So, did everybody have a chance to look over it or have anything to offer to say on it? Or
Mr. Chairman, while it was very extensive and a lot of changes, I think it covered a lot of things that needed to be covered. And so I was pleased.
Okay.
I agree. I think that there was so much information, and I think that there were 4 of us at the meeting at the time. And I think we thought this was a better something that the group as a whole should decide instead of perhaps just 4. I'll speak for myself. I was a little bit hesitant because I felt like we had talked about different things that we felt need to be included. Some of these were conversations that either we had with the Planning and Zoning Board, or they reported to us, or at least in a couple of cases, maybe we saw when they were having different discussions on different topics, what they had brought up. I was particularly maybe troubled at the time because there were 4 or 5 lines in there that gave a lot of discretion to the making decisions. And I felt like that maybe that we were looking for something a little more definitive as to what we would base our decisions on. The more I thought about it, I think that latitude and those that discretion was kind of what we were looking for in there. So I would make the motion at this time that we adopt the ordinances as they were proposed to us.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? We do have enough. Duke went to the bathroom, but we have enough here to make that. So all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you. Moving on to Mr. Gibson, Vice Chair, on some board and committee appointments.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I'm going to work my way from the bottom up. Last members of the Zoning Board of Adjustments, those persons were Jimmy Bennett, Debbie Evans, Frank Evans, John Ferguson, and Don Norton. Additionally, we approved 3 alternates, Daniel Dockery, William Joe Graves, and Joy Hine. After which we found that we are not able to appoint but 2 alternates. I am recommending that we appoint Daniel Dockery and Joy Hine. And let me explain that. In the last meeting, I said that we would do the last to apply. Joy Hine we would drop the last to apply, which would be Joy Hine. However, Ms. Hine is not presently serving on any board or committee. Daniel Dockery does serve on zoning board, and William Graves serves on Parks and Rec and one other board, ABC board. And so to give Ms. Hine an opportunity to serve, my recommendation is that we appoint Daniel and Joy. Additionally, in that same thing, we have to provide alternate or staggered years of service. John Ferguson, Don Norton, and Jimmy Bennett have served on this board previously for a number of years. So I want to recommend that we do them at 2 years. Debbie Evans and Frank Evans are new to the board. I want to recommend that we do them at 3 years. And the same for Joy Hine and Daniel Dockery. Daniel at 2 years and Joy Hine at 3 years. And I want to offer this as a motion.
Okay. Mr. Clerk, you have it. You got it? Okay. All right.
I've got it.
I second the
We
motion.
have a motion and a second for that. Any other questions, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
All right. My next is Planning and Zoning Board. Mr. Cleo Graham has served a number of years, and certainly we're appreciative of his service, and he has had to come off the board because he's reached term. We have 2 applicants for this vacancy, Jeff Maley and Billy Thomas. I want to offer a motion that we appoint Billy Thomas to the Planning and Zoning Board.
Okay, we have a motion. We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
All right. Third, we have the Board of Equalization and Review. There are 2 applicants for this board, Ms. Mary Helen Norton, Ms. Alexis Tyson. These ladies do presently serve or plan to serve again. Additionally, we have to appoint a chairman because the chairman has had to come off of this board. So I want to offer a motion that we appoint both Ms. Mary Helen Norton and Ms. Alexis Tyson, and that Ms. Mary Helen Norton be appointed as chair of the Board of E&R.
Second.
All right, motion and a second. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
And finally, the ABC Board, want to offer a motion that we reappoint Chairman Ivy back to serve on that board. We also have 2 vacancies or 2 reappointments. Applicants that we have received are Mike Edge, Jeff Maley, Larry McGill. I want to recommend Jeff Maley and Larry McGill to serve on the board of ABC, on the ABC board along with Chairman Ivy.
Okay.
Motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. Second. Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Just
Oh.
discussion, that's including, do we have to nominate Tim Ivy?
He's included.
He's included, okay.
Yeah, Tim Ivy and Jeff Maley and Larry McGill.
And just to say, just so you know, Larry McGill is the current chairman of that board. So, all right. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Thank you, sir. Moving on to county manager report.
Okay, I'll go through these. Not a lot of updates this month, but I'll tell you what I have so far. Still waiting on the Laurinburg-Maxton Airport. No change there. Monarch, Mr. or Attorney Johnston is working with Monarch to finalize that agreement and the terms in that agreement. North Turnpike Waterline, after we met last week, we are still somewhat undecided on Ace and Merrill Drive and if we will extend those water lines, those two roads. That would cost an additional $400,000 to extend those water lines to your original project price. So to determine if there is interest, we are setting up two informational sessions out there in that area. And so we are working with the church out there in that area and,
Oak Hill.
yes, sir.
Are we
And-
gonna be prepared next month to decide one way or another? With those
I
two?
hope that you are. I hope that you are because definitely after these informational sessions, that will be this month before the end of April, walking into May, you will certainly, I hope, have information you need to make a decision on that. We can go ahead to some degree with the engineering firm, move forward with the scope of work because we can always add Ace and Merrill Drive in because they've already differentiated between the original project and adding those in.
Will you be sure as you all are planning to make sure that we're included so that we can be present?
Absolutely. We are tying down the dates with that church, but right now we are thinking April 22nd and then turn around and have another one on April 30th. And I believe those are both Tuesdays in April. But we will get that out once the church has finalized those.
I will be out of the country.
Miss Dorothy is telling me it's April 23rd. But so we'll make sure everybody knows those and we hope to finalize that this week. So we'll get those out there. Moving along, I'm going to move over some of these because there's really not a lot of update. I'm just not taking them off so they don't slip through the cracks anywhere. Our Scotland County IT services. So I feel like a broken record, but it is true. Every month we make progress. Right now, the biggest progress we've made, I would say from last month to this month are a few things where we've implemented something called CIS benchmarks. And those are what you would say best practice standards for your IT and your cybersecurity. And that is something that the National Guard absolutely recommended that we do. And so those have been rolled out, for a lack of better words. And those are things like setting up multi-factor authentication. We're in the process of doing that. Setting up where we used to could have almost any old password now, it's this 16-digit, all these mixed. So things like that, best practice that we have to roll out.
Did we still have people using laptops?
We do have people using laptops. What I was going to report, however, and I checked in with DSS and Health today because those are our two largest departments and the ones that probably have had the least resources if you looked at the number of people to the number of laptops we could give them. And right now, every person has one on their desk as of last week. So I checked in with those directors this morning to make sure of that. VC3 sent a team down last week to give a big push to get that done. Now those will most likely not be their everyday operating computer, but it got a computer on a desk. So everybody has one to work on.
So what do we do have up where they're not?
What
using it?
departments? So the network, so I can describe it like this. The network is standing up. And so we have several departments that are on the network and working pretty close to normal at this point. So we have finance on the network, some of admin, sheriff's department, some of DSS and health are on the network. And so it's almost like a mix throughout the county. And that doesn't sound like an organized way to go about that. But there's the main reason behind that for health and DSS is the state, for any employee that needs to use a state maintained website, they have to approve the IP address that we are logging on from. And so our original IP address sitting on 8 will require to get that approved. Once that happens, all those computers at Health and DSS can go on the network and we're very close to normal again.
The question I would ask, the last discussion, well, not the last discussion I had with the sheriff, but he mentioned to me that they were pretty much back up on everything with the exception of the CAD in the cars. Does that come up or it's not still don't? So they still don't. Well, one's saying yes and one's saying no. So is it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right. Another piece of this puzzle is that a lot of our equipment was basically end of life. It just wasn't replaced, although it needed to be replaced. So we've taken the time. Now Scotland County knows every piece of equipment in this county, where it is, when it was purchased, and when it's going to be at end of life. And honestly, that was a massive project. And so
Are we working on a rotation plan?
exactly. And so that is part of the project. And it worked out rather well in that half the equipment can be replaced between now and next fiscal year. And then going into future fiscal years, the other half can be replaced, and then we stay on a rotation. We're also doing things like staff would have a desktop computer and a laptop. Almost every staff having 2 computers. No need for that. You're going to have a laptop with a docking station, and when you leave, pick it up and go with it. And so trying to consolidate some things, make things more efficient and reduce the cost of even if it's just equipment to the county. I could probably keep talking about IT for a long time, but that is the biggest, that's the overall. The WAVE project at the courthouse, that has been completed. If you remember, that was a project through AOC where all the county had to do was run the Cat 6 lines, and then AOC came in and put up all the boxes that get Wi-Fi throughout the entire courthouse, and that really something we didn't have a choice but to do. And then finally, we you can see on the right side, we're doing some different things with our printing and copying assessments and service consolidation, things that we're identifying as I've been here for a few months and as we're making the budget. We are paying for duplicative services, and we don't need to do that. And so we're seeing that now across departments, and we shouldn't be doing that. And so once contracts run out, we can end them with certain vendors because the county already has access to that. So that is my report, unless there's something particular you all want to ask about.
Is there any progress on the East Laurinburg Recycling Center?
There is not. And really, I told myself by next month, if I can't get an answer about
We're still waiting on the survey.
the last thing I heard was waiting on a survey.
Right.
So I've contacted the surveyor and the landowner, and I'm just not sure where we are with that, as far as if the interest is still there to sell. So by the next meeting, we may have a different conversation about that.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. Next item is Commissioner News. We'll start with Mr. Frizzell.
I ain't got nothing.
Gibson. Mr. McFadder. Mr. Williams, Mr. Gibson. Go Wolfpack.
Trader.
I'm okay with that.
Trader.
Yeah. I will give it to them. They played a good game last night. I will give them that. But anyway, all right. Without hearing anything else, then we'll recess this meeting until next Wednesday at 9 a.m. at the Peden Street Morgan Center.
Next Wednesday, the 10th.
The 10th. Yes. I'm
So
sorry.
Second.
Okay.
Mad at me.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We'll see you then. Thank you all for coming.
TJ. Can't beat them, join them.
Join them.
Right.
Don't forget.
Win.
Hey, Duke. Duke, at least I will say it. At least it was Duke that they beat.
Okay, I am going to be out of town. Who do you?
Hey, can't beat them, join them. Look, John, we got somebody got a
There was several people running into him, and I mean, he didn't even move.
I know. Well, I talked. Well,
yeah, but ain't either
I
John.
talked to him middle of last week. He was gonna be here.
Well, he was with his going up to his daughter's house, so we got to figure something out.
I'm gonna just leave.
Hope he ain't.
I don't want.
Jason, what if I change my telephone?
Hey, look, we may have to reschedule it. We may have to reschedule it because I don't know what to